We're going to learn how to make an extremely optimized setup in the barn. This setup is going to be utilizing the maximum 10 employees, and it also accounts for the most recent update where chemists can be assigned to 4 stations. So any setups made before the most recent patch will not be as efficient as this setup. The setup is a Coke setup, but can be easily modified for any product. Setup utilizes 8-step mixing as well as being fully automated. I'll also be doing a running tally of the costs in the top left of the screen. The optimal price is going to be accounting for all of your machines being fully upgraded and fully stocking all of your ingredients wherever there's a shelf. And the cheapest metric is my calculation of the price if you use the absolute cheapest setup possible, and accounts for just enough supplies and seeds to fully plant all planters once and fully mix all of the product that comes from those. Let's start with equipment. For our plants, we're going to have 20 suspension racks, 20 air pots, and 20 of our best lights. The way I have these placed is if you look at one of these first posts on the barn with the light switches, you can measure with your suspension rack, and they're going to be 3 squares away from each of the posts. There are also going to be 2 squares in front of the first post for where the first one will be placed, and there will be 2 lines of suspension racks side by side that are going to go 10 deep into the barn, and they'll end right before the last post. Then we're going to have 16 large storage racks. 2 of these will be to resupply our cauldrons with gasoline. These will be to the right and the left of the entrance of the barn, up against the side walls. Then 8 of the large storage racks are going to be supplying our mixing stations, and these will be across from mixing stations along the side walls of the barn. At the end of the lines of mixing stations, you're going to have supply racks for your botanists. So there are going to be 4 of these, like this, and these will be turned sideways. Then we'll have 2 large storage racks next to a packaging station on the end of our line of plants. These will also be turned sideways. One of them will resupply the packaging station, and one of them is going to receive final product. Then we'll have 8 mixing stations. So from the front of the barn, if you go to one of these posts, go 2 squares to the outside edge of the post and place a mixing station sideways. The first one's going to be lined up, so if you look on the side edge of it, you'll be able to see a gap between the post and the edge of the mixing station. These are going to be lined up side by side, 4 deep, and this setup is going to be mirrored on the other side. Then we're going to have 4 cauldrons set up like this. And we're also going to have 4 ovens. So from the barn entrance, if you look to your right, there will be ovens set up like this next to our large storage rack with the gasoline. So these are back to back, both facing outward, and these will be mirrored on the other side as well. Then we're also going to have a packaging station at the very end of our line of pots, like this. And to the right of our packaging station is a brick press. It'll be up to you whether you want to use the packaging station or the brick press. We're only going to be using one or the other. And then finally, I have 11 beds. These are going to be next to our botanist supply racks. There will be 2 facing this way on the side under the stairwell, and then 1 facing this way under the stairwell. Then if we go to where the stairs go up, there are going to be 2 facing this way, also next to the supply racks for the botanists. If we go up the stairs, there are going to be 6 more beds up here for a total of 11 beds, 10 beds for our workers, and 1 bed for us. Also in the loft of the barn up here, I have extra supply racks just for whatever my personal needs are, but these are not necessary. You can have whatever you want up here. And I almost forgot, but we also have 3 trash cans. One of the trash cans is going to be in front of this first right post when you go into the barn. Then one of them is going to be just next to the second left post like this and towards the pots. And then the last one is going to be on the very last right post, and you're going to go back 1 square and then skip a square and place it up against the pots like this. This is set up this way so our cleaner will be able to access as much of the trash as possible that's produced here. I'll give you an idea of what the startup cost on materials will be too. If you want to have full storage racks of your mixing supplies for every mixing station like I do, and you're using the same ingredient setup as me for the mixing stations, so that's 160 of the ingredients per station. Getting these full storage racks is going to cost $7,040 with an average ingredient cost of 5.5, and I will be going over the mix that I'm using at the end of the video. And if you're starting with your botanist supply racks fully stocked, so you're going to have 2 stacks of extra long life soil, 3 stacks of fertilizer, and 3 stacks of coca seeds, that's going to be $6,600 per supply rack, and there are 4 supply racks. Then I have $160 of baggies. This product's going to be too expensive to sell in any form other than baggies, unless I give it to my dealer, in which case I will use the brick press. Then the final supply we'll need is the gasoline for our cauldron, and a full storage rack of gasoline costs $800, so for 2 of them that's $1,600. I will say starting with all of these supply racks completely full is a little excessive. You don't have to do that. I'm just setting you up for the price if you want to have a really good optimal start. And our final cost and the final thing we need is our employees. We're going to have 2 handlers, 3 botanists, 1 cleaner, and 4 chemists. And all of those guys are going to cost you $18,800 total. I did add in a single day's wage because what's the point of buying the employees if you aren't going to use them for 1 day? That brings the total price for the optimal setup to $97,435, and the total price for the cheapest setup to $51,314. Again, that optimal setup is having all of your storage racks completely full from the start and having every machine fully upgraded. And that cheapest setup is the cost to run all of your plants a single time and mix them once with all the cheapest versions of the machines and pots and lights. And now that we have all of our equipment and our employees sorted, let's route all of our machines before we move on to assigning our employees. And let's start out with our pots. We'll go on the left side, shift click to select multiple pots. And we're going to shift click our first 5 pots on our left side like this. Then we're going to choose to manage the pots. Our destination for these is going to be the very rightmost grow rack. Then we're going to shift click to deselect all of those pots. And we're going to shift click the next 5 in this line. And press E to manage the pots again. Choose the destination to be the other drying rack. And while they're shift clicked, you can see what destination they're going to. You can also look at individual machines or pots to make sure their routes are correct. We're just going to shift click the rest of these pots in the line. Now we're just going to deselect those 5. Go to the front of the barn again, and we're going to go down this next row, shift click the next 5. Then click manage pot. Choose the destination. It's going to be the furthest drying rack on the left side. Then deselect all of these again. And select the next 5. Press E to manage it. Destination is going to be the one that's closest to the barn door. Deselect all of our pots again. Then we're going to shift click all of our drying racks. Press E to manage them. Make sure their target quality is the maximum quality. This is preference too. If you don't want them to be maximum quality, you don't have to. After you do that, deselect your drying racks and manage one of the drying racks. Each of our drying racks is going to be getting their own cauldron. So we're going to set these destinations individually like this. And then each of our cauldrons is going to be getting their own oven. So choose the destinations for your cauldron. And they're each going to have their own single oven. Once that's done, shift click all of the ovens, select all of them, manage them, and their destination is going to be the first mixing machine in our sequence of mixing machines. So have them all go to the first mixing machine in your line of mixing machines. Then we're going to route our mixing machines. Our first mixing machine's destination is going to go to the second mixing machine. Then we're going to route our mixing stations. Our first mixing station's destination is going to be the second mixing station. The second mixing station's destination will be the third, and we're just going to keep chaining their destinations down the line in the order we're wanting to mix our ingredients in. So just keep chaining them sequentially with their destinations like this. Once you get to the final mixing station in the line, its destination is going to be our packaging station or the brick press, depending on which you want to use. And finally, we're going to manage our packaging station or brick press and choose the destination for that to be our finished product rack. And with all our machines routed, we're ready for the final step, which is assigning our employees. I've already assigned my employees to their beds, so we're not going to worry about that. But we're going to start by managing a handler. We're going to choose a route. The from is going to be from our first storage rack for our mixing supplies to our first mixing station. Add another route. From is going to be our second supply rack to our second mixing station. And we're just going to keep doing this from our supply racks to our mixing stations like this. And go over to the other end of the line and assign this one. And they're able to have up to 5 routes. I'm also going to assign a station to this employee. It's going to be the packaging station. Then I'm going to go to my other handler. We're going to start by doing the same thing with them, but wherever we left off in the line. So since we assigned 5, we're going to go to our 6th mixing station and storage rack combo and assign across from that. And they will have 3 routes that are from large storage racks to mixing stations. And we're going to give them one final route over here from our large storage rack that has our packaging supplies to the packaging station, so they'll be resupplying our baggies or jars. Then we'll give them a final route that is going to be from our gasoline rack to one of our cauldrons. And here's what I would call the only real limitation with this setup. You will need to resupply 3 of these cauldrons with gasoline yourself, but you only need to do this once a week because a full stack of gasoline lasts 120 hours of cauldron runtime. If you want to just do one cauldron and have it fully automated, you could, but of course that will slow down the output of this a lot. Finally, I'm going to manage that handler again and assign them to the brick press. And that is the last thing we need to do with our handlers. Now let's go on to our botanists. We're going to start by assigning this guy his supplies. You're going to give him one of these supply racks. Then we're going to choose those pots and drying racks. And we're just going to go down the line on these pots and shift click them till he can't be assigned anymore. Quick little side note here, make sure to press E with your management clipboard after you do this, or else it won't actually assign the employees to the pots. I had to reassign my botanist at the end because of this. We're going to repeat the process with our next one. So go with supplies first. Give him the left side. And we'll chain him down this way. Reason I'm doing this is just for maximum efficiency, having them start from the back and work their way forward. Then our final botanist, we're also going to assign them with a supply rack that hasn't been assigned yet. So we'll give them either the front of the left side or the back of the left side. Any that haven't been assigned is fine. Then we're going to choose the pots and drying racks. And they are going to finish off our final 4 pots up here. And they'll also be working on the 4 drying racks up here. The reason I chose this one to have the pots at the front is because he has the least pots and our supply racks are in the back. He won't be bottlenecked since drying racks don't take that much time to manage, so he'll still be keeping up even though he's further away from the supplies. And let's also assign our cleaner with the trash cans. It's easy to forget. Now we're almost done. We're going to manage our chemists, and we're going to manage our first chemist. We're going to assign them the first mixing station, and then we're going to alternate mixing stations. So we're going to skip a mixing station, assign it, skip a mixing station again, and assign it, and skip one again and assign it. The reason we're skipping one each time is, say this chemist finishes a partial stack, they're going to pass it down and go back to working to complete their stack. And this mixing station is just going to be sitting idle. So by alternating which chemists are assigned to our mixing stations in sequence, they can all be working at the same time and have better efficiency. So now we're going to go to our next chemist. assign them a station. We're going to assign them the second mixing station, the fourth mixing station, and the sixth, and the last mixing station. Now we're going to choose another chemist, and we are going to assign them with all of the ovens. And we're going to go find our final chemist, and we're going to be assigning them with all of the cauldrons. You can shift click those while assigning them too, I just forgot until the end. And something else I'm going to be doing specifically is I am going to shift click all of these pots now, and I am going to assign them with fertilizer. So we're going to go through all of these. It'll say manage 20 pots. We know we got them all. We're going to press E, choose our additive, and we're going to choose fertilizer. And that way, since they're fertilized, they'll be spending less time on the drying rack since they're going to have higher quality initially, and we'll be producing our top quality product faster. Our setup's complete now, so I'm going to pay all my employees, and then we're going to make sure everything's working properly. Everything with the setup is running smoothly, and we just finished our first batch of our product. And the mix that I'm doing is worth 735 per unit. As promised, I'll give the ingredients for that too. It starts with coke and kook, then horse product, then paracetamol, then mega bean, then motor oil, then kook again, then mega bean again, and then battery is the final ingredient. A couple of tips to help you guys out with this setup. I like to keep a large storage rack that has the ingredients in the order that I need them for my 8-step mix. Large storage rack has 8 spots, so I can just reference this and see what mix I was running. This helps a lot if one of your shelves runs out of ingredients and you forget what was on it. I also like to order 80 of 4 of the ingredients I need from GasMart West and 80 of 4 of the ingredients I need from GasMart Central. That way when they show up, I have exactly the proportions I need of the ingredients I need, since each of these vans can fit 320 mixing ingredients. I order 80 of 4 in each because each of these vans can fit 320 mixing ingredients. I also like to have the Viper from Highland Auto to do supply runs for this. Viper can also hold 320 ingredients. If you park it at GasMart, in these yellow lines where it says loading bay, you can go in and you can actually order things directly into the trunk. You'll see this check mark here says load into vehicle, so I can add in whatever I need, and when I purchase it, if I go outside, it will all be in my trunk already. If you need some time to catch up on resupplying, just do this at night. Your employees can't work anyways, so at 4 AM it's going to stop time, and you'll be able to do all your supply runs and restock then. That's all the tips and useful information. If you're perceptive, you might have noticed that I only had 2 mixing cauldrons and 2 ovens at random parts of the video. I've actually been making this video for a few days, and I had to re-edit it and modify the setup because the patch changed that allowed you to assign chemists to 4 different stations. I wanted to make sure you guys had the best possible setup. That's it.